disagreed with calls for a cap on the number of Supreme Court judges in Ghana. He explains that the framers of the Constitution did not provide a limitation on how many judges can be appointed to the Supreme Court because of the wide remit of the Apex Court. The Speaker made these comments following the approval of Justice Barbara Frances Akayensu and Justice Samuel Kwame Adibu Asiedu to the Supreme Court. The following report has more.
The 1992 Constitution does not provide a cap in terms of appointments to the Supreme Court's bench. Incidentally, what is provided is the minimum number of judges that can be accommodated at the Apex Court. According to Article 128 of the Constitution, the Supreme Court shall consist of the Chief Justice and not less than 9 other justices. Currently, there are 14 justices at the Supreme Court. The President has recently nominated 4 more who have undergone vetting in Parliament. 2 of his nominations have been approved by Parliament, while the fate of the other 2 remains unknown. For some analysts, constitutional powers given to the President to appoint as many as he so pleases is not the best for the country.
Article 128, for emphasis, I quote, "The Supreme Court shall consist of the Chief Justice and not less than 9 other justices of the Supreme Court." Mr. Speaker, not less than 9 other. So, Mr. Speaker, as you rightly observed yesterday, it is not your power to interpret the Constitution. But, Mr. Speaker, where there is no ceiling provided, I want to believe that the framers of the Constitution assume that Parliament will provide for those limitations. We cannot have an open-ended. So, Mr. Speaker, tomorrow, if a particular president decides that he wants to appoint 25 justices of the Supreme Court, we will say because of jurisdiction, because of supervisory role, because of adjudicative role, it must be. That is what this Constitution provides. But, Mr. Speaker, it has always been my position that Ghana does not need more than 13 justices of the Supreme Court, because you can empanel from 5. The Chief Justice can empanel from 5, expand it to 9, and expand it to 13. That should be it. So this Parliament somehow must find a way to limit the numbers of justices of the Supreme Court that the President can appoint. We have seen President Akufo-Addo take full advantage of it. He has appointed more Supreme Court justices than any other president has done under the 4th Republic.
Others hold a different opinion. They believe the remit of the Supreme Court is so wide that it justifies the current provisions of appointment to the Supreme Court. The Speaker of Parliament espoused these sentiments while he announced the approval of Justice Barbara Frances Akayensu and Justice Samuel Kwame Adibu Asiedu to the Supreme Court.
The House has, by this adoption, approved the nominations of His Excellency the President of the following persons as Justices of the Supreme Court in accordance with Article 1442 of the 1992 Constitution. The persons are Justice Barbara Frances Akayensu and Justice Samuel Kwame Adibu Asiedu. As for the number of judges in the Supreme Court, I will go with those who think that the remit, the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court in Ghana is so wide, so large, is so huge, that the framers of the Constitution did not just leave that for Parliament to legislate, to give the limit. It's for good reason that they only gave the minimum and left out the maximum for good people in government to at any time determine the right number. Unfortunately, politics has entered into this arena. I recall a few years ago, the insistence was 13. And during discussions, it was agreed 2015. Today, the discussion has shifted. You can't lead a country that way. You can't govern that way. There is no meritocracy in this country, and we need to work towards that.
The first Deputy Speaker was also of the view that broader consultations be made with the judiciary before any decisions are made about capping Supreme Court judges.
The numbers may even be increased. Indeed, some of them suggested that we should have not less than 5 or 6 separate courts because they have separate and different wide jurisdictions. So, as a major stakeholder in justice delivery, I think that we should discuss further with them. No decision should be advocated or implemented by the political arm only, but the judicial arm, which are the major stakeholders, their views should be considered, in my view.
Also in Parliament, the Speaker called on the Electoral Commission to further engage the House on the constitutional instrument that seeks to make the Ghana card the sole document for registration for persons who have attained the voting age leading to the compilation of the voters' register for the 2024 elections.
The Electoral Commission is giving notice. I believe it's not the case, because they know they cannot go on the offensive against an arm of government. We are not just a state institution. We are not just an administrative body. This is an arm of government. And when they talk about independence of arms, they really mean that neither arm, whether the executive or the judiciary, controls the other arm. We don't also control the executive, we don't control the judiciary. That is what the separation of powers is all about. We have to work together because we lead the country, the 3 arms. And so there is no way that a subsidiary body can be on an offensive. We passed the law to create the Electoral Commission. It was simply guaranteed in the Constitution, but we had to pass a law to establish it. I hope this is enough notice. I must be given the brief before I can exercise my authority to allow the business to be provided and presented to the House. But I'll cross-check to make sure that the official communication has been given. I don't take the peace of this country for granted, and I will not do anything to endanger it.
The House adjourned today's sitting a bit earlier than scheduled to allow for members on the minority side travel to Cape Coast, where the NDC will be having its women's organizer and youth organizer elections this weekend. Now, from next week, though, it is expected that committees that have received budget estimates from the various MMDAs will submit their report to the House for debate. From Parliament House in Accra, Charles Osukumi for Citi News. Now, former President John Dramani Mahama has indicated that reshuffling of ministers and government appointees is mandatory in every administration. He believes the continuous stay of some ministers in a particular office prevents them from giving of their best. There is more in the following report.
The minority in Parliament, civil society groups and various stakeholders have called on President Akufo-Addo to reshuffle his administration for optimum performance. The minority in this regard filed a motion of censure against the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta in a bid to get him out of government. Speaking to students of Academic City University College on the topic, Thinking Critical Decisions in Decisive Moments as a Leader, as part of the university's efforts to nurture the next generation of African leaders, Mr. Mahama stressed, among others, for government to reshuffle its appointees.
You have to, after a while, take a look at the performance of your ministers, and based on the performance, you must decide to drop some people and you can also decide to shift some people to other places. They are probably good, but they are not finding their feet in the ministry you send them. And so after observing them for a year or two, you see that, look, I mean, this person will do better here because of these qualities he has. And so you move him there and you bring somebody else. Aside from that, sometimes you take decisions to move people because you don't want them to create kingdoms in the ministries in which they are.
The former president added that corrupt government officials must be made to face the laws of the land for any infractions proved.
It's not as easy as you think it is. And sometimes the person who's been involved in corruption is somebody that you know very well, and probably somebody who's been a member of your team. But unfortunately, he's falling, by the wayside. You have to gather the courage and boldness to deal with it, to serve as a deterrent to everybody that, look, if it comes to this, I will take action. Unfortunately, that's part of the problem we're facing today, that one, the president cannot sack people who have been accused of corruption and so on and so forth.
He further stated that consistent borrowing on the part of the government has led to the current economic hardship in the country, which has compelled Ghana to go for an IMF program.
The investors and the bilateral donors were reluctant to release funds or to come in because they didn't believe that we could implement the homegrown fiscal consolidation program. And so I took it to them. I said, look, this is the program we brought. We are cutting expenditure, we're raising revenue, we're going to balance the budget and things. And they'll just look at me and they didn't believe that we could do it. And so they still held on to their investments and the funds until one of them from DFID came to me and said, look, these guys are not going to invest or release any of the funds unless you go into an IMF program. There was that program that helped to balance out our books, restore macroeconomic stability. But unfortunately, we lost it again by excessive borrowing. As soon as this government came out of the program, they started going on to the Eurobond market for $3 billion, $3 billion, $3 billion, and eventually we all are in the economic ditch that we are.
Reacting on government's plans to freeze employment in the public sector, John Mahama says government should rather consider creating an enabling environment for the private sector to thrive.
But the burden is on the leadership to run the country in such a way that we grow the economy so that the private sector can throw up sustainable jobs. The private sector would have to grow. We pay lip service and say the private sector is the engine of growth. But if it's the engine of growth and it doesn't have petrol to even start, that engine is not going to work. And today, I mean, look at it. Start, stop, start, stop. Look at what has happened. At the beginning of the year, the Citi to the dollar was 6 cedis to $1. Today, it's about 14 cedis to $1. So it's wiped out almost 50%, more than 50% of the value of your capital. So if at the beginning of the year you had 1 million cedis, today the real value of your 1 million cedis is minus 54%. And so businesses suffer. It means all Ghanaian businesses are being set back. And some of them have their capital in bonds and things, and now they're going to get this Baba who has come to give everybody a haircut.
Fearing a surge in COVID-19 numbers during and after the Yuletide, the Ghana Health Service has instituted a vaccination campaign aimed at ensuring more Ghanaians are vaccinated to achieve the 20 million target for herd immunity. There is more in the following report.
When Ghana first recorded COVID-19, the Ghana Health Service launched a series of vaccination campaigns with the aim of achieving herd immunity. To intensify vaccination uptake, the Ghana Health Service has launched the 5th vaccination campaign with a target of 1.4 million doses. Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kumar-Boaji, maintains that vaccination is the only way to protect the populace from the virus.
Currently, over 12 million people in Ghana have received at least a dose of COVID-19 vaccine, with over 9 million fully vaccinated. However, the end is far from sight, since the disease is unpredictable and the larger proportion of the vaccine eligible population remains unvaccinated. To this end, ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here this morning to witness yet another series of national COVID-19 vaccination days campaign, which starts from next week, Wednesday, the 14th of December 2022 through to Sunday, 18th December 2022, across all the districts in the country. During this period, this campaign period, approximately 6,000 vaccination teams will be deployed across the length and breadth of the country, employing both static and close-to-client strategies to reach the unreached. As with previous campaigns, the aim of the 5th National COVID-19 Vaccination Campaign is to reach the target of administering some 1.4 million doses, thereby bringing Ghana's closer to the attainment of herd immunity.
The program manager for the expanded program on immunization, Dr. Kwame Amponsah-Chiano, spelled out the modalities for the 5th vaccination campaign.
These campaigns have shown to be an additional key strategy that gets a lot of persons vaccinated within a short time. We've mentioned the 4 campaigns that have been completed with quite some impressive results, and the 5th one is due as we move into the festive season. Of course, we are anticipating some influx and gatherings, and we have to be careful. So the scope is going to be nationwide, targeting children 15 years, of course adults 15 years, and everyone who is 15 years or above. Of course, the strategies are multiple. We're going to use the static, that's the health facilities. We're going to use outreach services just like we do for the childhood vaccination, so they will move into the communities. Those who would go onto the islands will sleep there overnight for about 3 days or so. It's called a camp out. Of course, we'll use a modified house-to-house, that is bringing the vaccines close to client as much as possible. The target number of doses we anticipate to deliver or put into people's arms, it's approximately 1.46 million.
A cross-section of Guineans shared their thoughts on the COVID-19 vaccination.
I haven't taken a booster yet, but why not? I might as well try. I think it's going to help the Ghanaians and protect everyone from COVID-19.
But those who have even gotten the jab, some of them are even getting the COVID. So what am I taking it for?
You've never gotten COVID before?
Never.
You don't know anybody who has COVID-19?
We have. I mean, some people in my office, they've gotten, but, even they've taken a jab, but still, they still got it. So why should I take it?
I'm good about the one I took already, so I think I'm okay. Yeah, I'm okay.
You want to take another one? Why?
No. I'm okay for the first one that I took.
Did you feel any discomfort when you took the first jab?
Oh, no. Well, everything was okay.
So what's preventing you from taking a booster shot?
Because I think I didn't feel anything after taking the first one. I think it's okay. Yeah, so I'm strong, I'm fit.
You're still watching the Citi Newsroom on Citi TV, still to come. Ghana Insurance Association kicks against government's planned domestic exchange program, fearing their inclusion will spell an imminent collapse of their business.
We have details of that and more coming up shortly. Do stay with us.
Plus is a fully skimmed evaporated milk. Creamy Plus is available in a shop near you.
This message has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Bronya! Hey, high sense, Bronya, don't call me! High sense, Mobi Biara Frisia Po! Every 15th December, I come 8th January. Hey, high sense, Bronya, don't call me! And one more son, Yama Wyating. Nasu Udonti. High sense, Yatin Yamana to say who? Yan Shama Undi Bronya no Sibia. And to Uber showroom. When a dear, a yo Pia pocket level. Showroom Yamanina. Aya Bronya, don't call me! TV, fridge, freezers, air conditioner, smartphones, sound system, and it be beer or high sense showroom beer. And your high sense Bronya, don't come in. And maybe beer and tato, and corner here. So high sense D.O.B. Bronya, no feeling. Every 15th December, I come in 8th January. And your high sense Bronya, don't come in. High sense, everyday prices for everyday people.
Welcome back. Let's now do some more stories. Now, the Ghana Insurers Association has called for the exemption of insurance companies from the domestic debt exchange program. According to the association, the inclusion of their members in the debt exchange program will result in the collapse of the insurance industry. There is more in the following report.
Part of efforts to deal with the current economic crisis the country is going through, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta on Sunday announced that domestic bonds from the beginning of this month will be exchanged for a set of 4 new bonds maturing in 2027, 2029, 2032 and 2037. He added that the annual coupon on the new bonds will be set at 0% in 2023, 5% in 2024 and 10% from 2025 until maturity, stressing, however, that Treasury bills were exempted and that there will be no haircuts on the principals of the bond. The debt exchange program is expected to affect many financial institutions, including insurance companies. However, information given by the Ghana Insurance Association is that 40% of their total assets for the third quarter of this year are invested in Government of Ghana securities.
If you look at our asset base as at quarter 3 of this year, 2022, for the non-life insurance companies, we had about 4.9 billion Ghana cedis. For the life companies, it's about 6.6 billion Ghana cedis, giving us a total of 11.5 billion Ghana cedis. Out of this, 40% is actually invested in Government of Ghana instruments. This means that if the domestic debt exchange, quite a sizable amount of insurance assets will be gone and insurance companies will be highly challenged. 2, the investments are shareholders' funds and policyholders' funds, which are held in trust.
They therefore warn that should government go ahead and include the insurance companies in the program, there will be a collapse of the industry as they will not be able to pay the claims of their clients.
Insurance companies rely on investment income to meet their claim obligations to policyholders. Therefore, any debt exchange will negatively affect our ability to pay claims and lead to asset-liability mismatch. This will negatively affect the planned cash flow of insurance companies, hence our inability to meet our financial obligations to policyholders as they fall due. And it is to be noted that these obligations are daily. As we speak now, I'm sure there are people lodging claims with the insurance companies. Taking into consideration the fact that insurance companies are making underwriting losses, the effect will be so devastating that there will not be an insurance industry.
The Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, SHRAJ, says it remains helpless in enforcing Chapter 24 of the Constitution, which focuses on the Code of Conduct for public officers. The Code of Conduct provides that public officers comply with oaths of office and conflict of interest and declare their assets and liabilities upon assumption of office. But the provision is flouted on many occasions, a situation SHRAJ believes breeds public service corruption. SHRAJ is, however, confident the yet-to-be-passed Conduct of Public Officers Bill will be an antidote to this challenge. There is more in the following report.
Issues of conflict of interest and declaration of assets have been a bone of contention over time. Ghana's constitution provides in Chapter 24 that public servants fulfill the prescribed Code of Conduct for public officers, which is aimed at dealing with conflict of interest, declaration of assets and liabilities, and oaths of office. However, its compliance has been a major challenge over the years. To address this problem, the Commission of Human Rights and Administrative Justice, SHRAJ, 3 years ago drafted the Conduct of Public Officers Bill for Parliament to consider. However, its passage has hit a snag as the bill currently awaits approval from Cabinet.
Chapter 24 of the 1992 Constitution provides for the Code of Conduct for public officers in Ghana, dealing with conflict of interest, declaration of assets and liabilities, and oaths of office. However, there is no legislation or act of parliament to give effect to the constitutional provisions on the Code of Conduct. In the circumstances, the implementation of the Code of Conduct under Chapter 24 remains a challenge despite the mandate given the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice and the Chief Justice to investigate breaches of the Code of Conduct and to take such action, quote, that is considered appropriate in respect of the results of the investigations.
The SHRAJ Commissioner is, however, optimistic the bill, when passed, will seal the loopholes in the constitutional provision and hold public officers accountable. At an event to mark the 2022 International Anti-Corruption Day, the Deputy Attorney General, Alfred Tuayeboa, said givers of bribe must be made to face the rigors of the law to curb the perpetration of the illegality.
When it comes to corruption, it appears the givers are always spared. So a young man or some young men may want to join the immigration. They see a certain gentleman who comes to them and say, oh, me, if you pay 10,000 each, I'm going to get you enlisted in the immigration. This gentleman takes the 10,000 plus, maybe at 10, that's 100,000. He's able to do it. He absconds, then they follow his diligence to chase the gentleman, arrest him, and prosecute him. What about those young men who pay the 10,000 Ghana cedis each? Because you are not going after them. They keep also every year making the work of the police very difficult. And let me sound this warning that with this, what I've said, those who are interested in paying, be prepared that when we get you also, we'll also prosecute you. We will not leave you.
He further appealed to members of parliament to urgently approve the bill when it's brought before the House.
This bill, the current state is the bill, Madam, you're talking about 2018, we want to have it 2022. The updated one is here. It has gone through cabinet. There's a subcommittee of cabinet on governance and legal matters. They have gone through it, submitted their comments. It's now at the final stage at cabinet. We intend laying that bill before parliament upon approval from the cabinet next year. when Parliament resumes. That's something that, because if we do not do it, my Lord is here, they will legislate for us.
President Akufo-Addo has commissioned the IBSTEC GPHA's Atlantic Services multi-purpose container and dry bulk terminals at the Takoradi Port in the Western region. The project has enabled a significant increase in the port's capacity of handling cargo from a previous 400 metric tons to 2,500 metric tons of cargo per hour. The president also cut short for the construction of a modern oil and gas terminal and a dry dock, and said the completed projects and the new ones to be constructed will transform the Takoradi Port and boost regional and international trade.
The president, accompanied by the Director General of the Ghana Port and Harbours Authority, Michael Luguji, and the Transport Minister, Kweku Ofori-Esiama, first cut short for the $98 million modern oil and gas services terminal to be completed in September 2024. He also cut short for the $137 million Prime Meridian floating dry dock and ship maintenance facility expected to be operational in the fourth quarter of 2024. He later commissioned the Atlantic Terminal Services ultra-modern container terminal, which is a concessionaire between IBSTEC, AFC and the GPHA, before finally commissioning the dry bulk terminal for the handling of manganese, clinker, bauxite, limestone, among others. Speaking at the event, the Director General of the Ghana Port and Harbours Authority, Michael Luguji, said the project forms part of the GPHA's expansion master plan started in 2022 to make the port internationally competitive.
The dry bulk jetty, wherever we are sitting here, the entire place was the sea, which has been reclaimed into land. And this particular location was strategically picked to give you the opportunity to see the old on that side and then the new in terms of the dry bulk jetty. And as the details indicated, the old facility only had the capacity to handle 400 metric tons per hour. And this new facility has the capacity to handle 2,500 tons per hour.
President Nana Akufo-Addo, on his part, said the interventions in the Takoradi ports will enhance the relevance of the ports and boost regional and international trade.
I'm going to launch a floating dry dock and ship maintenance facility, which is being introduced in partnership with a wholly owned Ghanaian company, Prime Meridian Dock Limited. The initial phase of this project, which is estimated at $137 million United States dollars, is being financed by Prime Meridian Docks Limited. I'm also commissioning the completed ATS container terminal facility, which is part of the multi-purpose terminal, to take care of both export and import containers and conventional cargoes.
To appreciate what the completed Atlantic Services multi-purpose container terminal and the Prime Meridian floating dry dock and ship maintenance facility brings to the shipping industry, Citi News spoke to the officials of the two entities.
The container terminal, the ATS terminal, is an upgrade of the old Takoradi Port terminal, because the old one was up to minus 8.4 meters. This new one is minus 16. It means that the draft deficiency of the old port has been solved here. And in terms of capacity and container handling, this new facility would already, we have equipped it with STS crane facilities.
We're going to do a 200-meter floating dock, newly built, purpose-built. We're also going to have a jetty of about 200 meters. And the whole idea is to create an infrastructure that doesn't currently exist along the West African coast.
The Minister of Transport, Kweku Ofori-Esiama, said the projects are strategic to the transport industry. For the Takoradi Harbour, the commission of the Atlantic Container Terminal and the dry bulk today, as well as the sword-cutting ceremony for two more new projects, simply reinforces the port's commitment to becoming a key player when it comes to shipment within the African continent. For Citi News, I'm Akwesi Ejenim, the Takoradi Harbour.
You are still watching the Citi Newsroom here on Citi TV. Still to come. Opposition National Democratic Congress goes to the polls on Saturday to elect youth and women's organizers.
We have the details coming up shortly. Please stay with us.
Finally, anyone can become a household.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You Go Flip, a real estate gaming platform that allows you to play and stand a chance of winning a house or cash or consolidated prizes, such as savings towards a house. Simple and easy to play. Visit www.yougoflip.com. Buy a ticket to enter the game. Wait for the end of the game to enjoy the win. Anyone can win. Flip it or own it. You Go Flip. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Play responsibly, not for persons below 18 years, and gaming can be addictive. Voila.
Katanye, GoTV nye, Kaweni so enjoy all 64 games live on GoTV. Get your Go Coder and Plus at 89 Ghana cities. GoTV, love it.
You're welcome back. The National Democratic Congress NDC will be converging on the Central Regional Capital, Cape Coast, to elect the youth and women's organizers to lead the party to victory in the 2024 elections. Over 1,972 delegates will cast their votes to elect the potential candidate to lead the party. Central Regional Correspondent Calvis Tete has more in the following report.
Hundreds of National Democratic Congress party supporters will converge in Cape Coast for the Women and Youth Conference to elect the National Women's Organizer and the National Youth Organizer to lead the party to victory in the 2024 elections. A total of 1,972 delegates will gather at the University of Cape Coast to cast their vote to elect the two leaders. Many dignitaries are expected to be in attendance for the big event. Electoral Commission officials and the National Congress Planning Committee of the party say they are ready to ensure that the process is successful. There is huge police presence in the Central Regional Capital, Cape Coast, ahead of the elections tomorrow. Party flags of the National Democratic Congress can be seen in various areas of the capital. For the youth organizer position, two individuals are expected to battle it out for the only slot to lead the party. Proja Jemfi and incumbent George Opareado will lock horns with each other at the event. The women's organizer position will see incumbent Dr. Hannah Louisa Bisiu battle it out with Margaret Ansay. Deputy Secretary for the party in the region, Eric Ofe, has been speaking to Citi News on preparations for the big event tomorrow.
Delegates have begun trooping in, and the whole place is awash with banners, posters, and what have you, of candidates and even non-candidates. When I talk of non-candidates, I'm referring to those who are candidates for the main congress in Accra, but not the youth and women's conference. You can see Sedu Ketia, difficulty, and a host of others here. So the place is busy, jamming. Everybody is here. As if the program is even taking place today. Everything is safe. Everything is in order. I can confidently report to all your listeners that everything that needs to be done by any serious political party has been put in place. The electoral commission is on hand. The National Planning Committee, the local organizing committee, the policemen, everybody, anybody who is supposed to contribute meaningfully to the success of this particular youth and women's conference is on hand. So I can report authoritatively that everything is on hand and is going to be very successful tomorrow, barring any unforeseen emergency.
The government of Ghana is optimistic the cut down on the import of rice and other household commodities to ensure economic stability is in the right direction to protect food security.
Now speaking at the launch of the Ghana Nonya Akucho Economic Enclave under the Ghana Cares Obatampa program, the Minister of Finance noted that as part of initiatives to recover the ailing economy, this program is intended to speed up the process. Freduho has more in the following report.
The government says the Ghana Care Obatampa project will be the game changer for Ghana's youth as their services are engaged in an all-year-round agriculture farming. The project is geared towards a common profitable objective. The Ghana Care Obatampa project, outlined in the 2022 and 2023 budget, is an initiative to bridge the food supply gap, especially rice and vegetables, while reducing the risk associated with youth unemployment challenges. The project has since commenced within the Chopoli and Asuchari enclave, where government intends to embark on a 10,000-acre rice and vegetables farming to feed the citizenry. The farm will be irrigated to ensure an all-season farming to produce rice. The principal manager at the Ghana Irrigation Development Authority, Emmanuel Akwa, speaks to Citi News.
In 3 months, we've been able to develop 1,000 acres of the irrigation infrastructure, where part of it has been seeded with the rice already. When we go to the field, I think we will see it. The higher areas, the vegetables are good. Of course, even when we came here, the people are already doing the vegetables here. So this area will be good for the vegetables. The low-lying areas will demarcate for the rice. At the moment, we are still doing the feasibility for the entire area. We have flown the entire area, 10,000 acres.
Speaking to Citi News, on the sidelines of the launch of the initiative, the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, the project would offer enough benefits to the national service personnel who want to develop their skills.
As we thought about it and developed this Ghana Cares program, was the honest question as to what the Ministry of Finance could do. And in realizing the organizational capacity of MIDA, we went there and said, well, you guys have done, 2 programs successfully before. So why don't you lead this effort? So this really is the dawn of something really great. As a people, as you know, the budget this year was named in Kabum. So this is exemplifying the type of unity and working together for us to do that. You can see our collaboration with the National Service and the whole issue of creating an entrepreneurial society. But usually the startup is very difficult. So if we're able to do this link up with National Service, make sure that even as they finish or even that becomes their first National Service project, you open their eyes, reduce the risk. It's called a risk mitigant, and then make sure that people's creative energies are huge once they cross, the risk and understand what they are doing.
The Chief of Staff, Akosia Frema Osei-Opare, while commending the program, promised government's support to the youth development and growth.
Our journey to transformation will be complemented by the resolute implementation of key measures outlined in the 2023 budget, which was passed by Parliament earlier this week. Examples are extending about $400 million in agricultural insurance to eligible farmers under the Ghana Agricultural Insurance Program. implementing the Youth Starts program initiative to enable youth harness local opportunities. Intensive efforts to produce to promote local production and use of organic fertilizers.
The Minister for Defense, Dominic Nitiwo, on his part, noted that the initiative must be replicated in all 16 regions in the country.
If all the over 20,000 hectares of land is fully developed, we may be seeing over 100,000 people, young people, working here. Imagine for a second that this is replicated across the entire country, 16 regions. Clearly, both direct and indirect jobs that will be created here will be close to 5 million jobs that will be created. So the dream that the dreamers have brought today, that we are exhibiting and trying to launch today, is one of the biggest and most important singular innovation that this country is going to see. Homegrown and also extremely cheap.
When we're coming here, you actually drove this tractor. Tell us about the process and what really interests you to even engage in this sort of mechanization project.
Okay, so I'm a product of KNUST. I studied agric engineering. Yes, so I had the opportunity to join Agro Kings via a training program they organized. Yes, and then since then I was employed. It's machineries. I don't know. It's a nice feeling when I'm on the tractor. Be it we are harrowing, we are planting, we are seeding, any other thing, and it makes you feel powerful, I would say, because they always like the men are the ones who can do all these things, but doing it, and I know I'm good at what I'm doing, it's a good feeling. Farming is not an easy thing, but farming is good. People look at agric as hectic. Yes, the hectic part is there, but with what we are doing here, it's a fully mechanized farm. It makes the farming fun, easy, simple, and then we are able to produce more. Yes, so the aim is to feed the country, feed the future, produce locally and take it outside.
My name is Fred Duho, reporting for Citi News.
And that will be all for today's edition of the Citi Newsroom here on Citi TV. Our website, citinewsroom.com, has more information on our top stories and more.
Subscribe to CityTube on YouTube for more exclusive video content from Citi TV.
You can also watch Citi TV on DSTV channel 363 and GoTV channel 182. My name is Michael Obodu.
And my name is Charles Osukumi. Many thanks for watching.
My name is Gina, and this salon is where I work.
Good morning. Hey, good morning, dresses. You've already met your new colleague, have you?
Who built this Kujubisi? He fell from the sky.
I'm so glad there's a man amongst you. You ladies gossip too much. Hey, girls.
Today, Madam came in with a hot, sexy guy. And they were doing lobby.
Did Madam think men don't gossip?
The grapevine lies on my lap.
I've noticed a massive decline in our daily proceeds.
I suggest we fast and pray.
The spirit, told me today that I will see a man in this salon.
He said his wife is dead?
Yes, she was sick.
Hey, what sickness? Aite, it is your mother that will get leukemia. It is your mother.
I don't like what you are doing at all.
Hey, you want to fight?
The Hairdressers returns on 7th December 2022 at 7:30 p.m. only on Citi TV.
What do you get when you mix the best DJs in the country? The most amazing live band sets, delicious cocktails, and wonderful food. Back-to-back hit music from Ghana's finest